All right, here we go.
This is General, fully endorsed. Come on, the 10-star General. Stop you.
All right, so that's number 8. All right, so let's start again.
This is General, fully endorsed. Come on, the 10-star General. Stop 8 promotion. Yes, 10-star General, always supporting the artists them globally. Yeah, man. You can't stop the 10-star General. You can't stop 10-star General. You can't stop the 10-star General. Gone global. It gone viral. Yes. Yeah, man. I fully support Stockade Promotion, who spread the positive vibration globally. 10-star General.
This is 10-star General alongside Stockade Promotions, raising the awareness of artists globally. Live Brown giving full endorsement to the team. Let it go.
You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Raising the Awareness Show. I'm your host, 10-star General. So why not kick back, relax, and take in the musical vibes.
Yeah, so Sharon, I've made you co-host. So if you see anybody trying to get in, you'll see something called admit. If admit comes up on your screen, just let them in. All right. So I made you the co-host, my sister. All right. So that means you have the power to let people in. Respect.
This is General, fully endorsed. Yeah, man, the 10-star General. Stop 8 promotion. Yes, 10-star General, always supporting the artists them globally.
Okay.
Yeah, man. You can't stop the 10-star General. You can't stop 10-star General. You can't stop the 10-star General. Gone global. It gone viral. Yes. Yeah, man. I fully support Stockade Promotion, who spread the positive vibration globally. 10-star General.
Thank you for keeping it locked to Stockade Promotions. I'm your host, 10-star General, and you're welcome to Raising the Awareness Show. Please help us to share the live. And if you like what you hear, tell it to your neighbor, tell it to your friend. This is Raising the Awareness Show. Once again, I'm your host, 10-star General. Keep it locked.
And a 7, and a 6, and a 7, and a 8, and a 9, a 10-star General, 10 out of 10, top of the class. That's why I fully endorse Raising the Awareness Show. Raising the awareness. Ranking ancestor. Ranking ancestor. So.
As you know, my guest today is going to be Rankin, and we're waiting for some more to come in the building. Once we have some more people in the building and my co-host, and then we shall begin the show. Bear with me. Can you hear me? Oh, you have to unmute. Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure you can hear me. You can, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Amen. Amen. We're getting there.
You see, it's these little icons, they hide themselves and pretend that they're not there.
Amen. You got there in the end.
I did.
We have Sharon there. Sharon, bless up yourself. We're just going to wait for a few more people to come in, and then we'll kickstart. I know Sharon Mango should be here shortly. She might be running a little bit late. However, what happens, we'll kickstart after about 1 or 2. So I'm just going to play a few more of your songs and then we'll get going. Yeah?
Okay, just want to say bless up Sharon Bentley. I can see her there in the chat.
Yeah, she's there.
Yes, Rankin, and bless up yourself.
Yeah, good to speak to you.
Same here.
All right, so here we go. We're going to play some more tracks.
Okay.
That was a foul start, they say, but in comes the original start. This is called Shotgun Wedding. All right, I have to keep an eye on my system. I got some gremlins, so bear with me.
Say come why you want be married to me? Cause 6 months time me I go have you baby. Say come why you want be married to me? Cause 6 months time me I go have you baby. In days of war, when men were poor, them get a gal in trouble, said they buy a ring a boar. Them take you to the church, them no left you in the lurch. If you know your baby father, you no have to make no search. But nowadays, man, them no know nothing nice. Them do a little thing, them no stop eating twice. And me cook the chicken and you keep the rice. Me say, take where you get because you make the choice. And me say, wriggle me this and me say, wriggle me that. How many picnic and you holding now you flat. And me say, buy a house and do it quickly. Me do want no cottage down by the sea. Me want a 3-bedroom in a fantasy. Me say me want a 3-bedroom in a fantasy. I just feel the cook family.
We're soon going to be having a conversation with the legendary Rankin, and she is somewhat of an icon, a pioneer, a pace setter, all those wonderful attributes you give to a pioneering female DJ. Back in the day, we used to call them toasters, right? Not the toast that you know, toast up your bread. But toasters, we used to call them toasters, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And then they became, I think, MCs and so on and so forth. The goalpost kind of changed as we went along. But she's here. We're going to have a conversation. Bless up Audrey in the building. D-Light. We have iPhone in the building. Whoever those people are, bless up yourself and thank you for forwarding through. We have Sharon Bentley, who is here, and she's my supporting member. She's part of a company that deals with a lot of our posting and spreading the information and promoting. Sharon Mango is my Sharon Bentley is my sister all the way from Germany. So bless up Sharon Bentley, right? So we're gonna play about 2 more tracks and then we're gonna begin. All right. So I'm gonna play this one from the top. It's called Shotgun Wedding. So bear with me. And I believe you can hear the music all right.
I can hear it fine.
Good, good.
Oh, do you like that? I may say, come, Nico, why you want to be married to me? Cause 6 months time, me, I go have you, baby. Say, come, Nico, why you want to be married to me? Cause 6 months time, me, I go have you, baby. In days of war, when men were poor, them get a gal in trouble, said they buy a ring of gold. Them take you to the church, them no left you in the lurch. If you know your baby father, you no have to make no search. But nowadays, man, them no know nothing nice. Them do a little thing, them no stop eating twice. And me cook the chicken and you keep the rice. Me say, take where you get me, cause you make the choice. And me say, wriggle me this, and me say, wriggle me that. How many picnic and you holding now you flat? And me say, buy a house and do it quickly. Me don't want no cottage down by the sea. Me want a 3-bedroom in a fantasy. Me say me want a 3-bedroom in a fantasy. I just feel me the cook family. And me say,
and a 7, and a 8, and a 9, a 10-star general, 10 out of 10, top of the class. That's why I fully endorse Raising the Awareness show. Raising the Awareness. Ranking ancestor. Ranking ancestor.
you say
Something fishy going on.
In a Europe, in a the Soviet Union, like me say something going on. Me hear a whisper in a Westminster. Lord, them a chat for nuclear war, and all them a build call up shelter. Let me tell you, none of we are going really enter. And me say something fishy going on. And me say something fishy going on.
Let me just change the view for a second.
We are the small. Them tell we nothing about it. Them know it all. In the Kremlin, them happy with everything. Lord have mercy upon the goddamn sin. Me hear from the shoulder. Them happy wipe me out. Lord me have the boat, but I book you wipe me out. To really succeed, me I go tell you where we need. Me say, Lord, we need it.
Okay, there I am. Hi, guys.
I see you. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, honey. How are you? I just got back. I made it.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Yeah, I think I said I had a funeral to go to.
Oh, didn't realize.
Sharon,
Okay.
Mango,
Yeah.
you made it.
I did. I told you I was going to do exactly what I said.
Amen.
And amen, I'm here. I was like, me can't miss the show. You know, so my friend Rankin and Debo, me for real.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, we have Rankin Ann here. My co-host is here. We have DJ Parks in the building, bless up. We have Keith Spencer, D-Light, Audrey's iPad. We have Ann Swinton, or Rankin Ann. Bless up yourself.
To me. To me.
Ooh, yeah, look good. Look for my sister. She look good.
Listen, me I them me have to put on this because me I them red and tired.
Superstar business. Superstar business.
Superstar business we are dealing with.
No.
A superstar business we are dealing with. Yes, man.
Yeah. And we have Sharon Bentley from Germany who's doing a wonderful job for us. And bless up yourself. So we're gonna. Who's this? PJ. PJ in the building. Bless up yourself, PJ.
PJ.
Right.
Is that
PJ, my
Parks?
special friend PJ. Hi, PJ.
PJ.
What I'm trying to get back to that view that we had the other day. So bear with me. If it doesn't work, we'll revert back. All right.
Let's get back to the view that we decided to have, please.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Definitely. We're going to try and get back to it. Yes. We did it.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, and then we have, all right, so Sharon, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll get going.
Greetings, one and all. This is Sharon Mango, representing Roblin Productions, Stockade Promotions, and SPRB Radio. Greetings to everyone who's tuning in today. We have our very, very, very special guest, Miss Rankinan.
Greetings.
I'm going to try and get some sound effects, some applause round effects.
Yeah, get some, because I can't whistle.
You know.
I wanted to whistle like...
Otherwise I have to clap myself.
Right. So once again, thank you everyone for coming in and joining us here. Let me just come to Sharon Mango before we come to Rankin Ann.
Yes.
Upon reading up about Rankin Ann's career, what was the first thing that struck you about her?
Humble beginnings. Humble beginnings is what strikes me about this amazing lady. I think that because of those humble beginnings, it made her who she is. It started to shape who she was, or who she was to become, I should say. She was a star in the making. You know what I mean? That's what I see for her. She was just a star in the making, and had to find herself within that, because not reading what I've read, she's from a very strict upbringing, like us, very strict. Mm-hmm. So you know that you're very limited in things that you can do, places that you can go. And she found, I just believe, she found comfort in the music, and which inspired her to be who she is. That's what I get from. Amen. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lionel.
No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Well, I want to come to Rankin and Sharon Mango mentioned a key word that sticks in my head: humble beginnings, strict upbringing, and so forth. So I want you to tell us about your upbringing. Before you do that, I want to introduce myself. I'm 10-Star General, and we're starting these, I guess they call them podcasts now, right? Mm-hmm. Where we're in the process of building our radio station, which is SPRB Radio. And up until we get that, finalized, we're doing these podcasts. So we're bringing in all the stars to share their stories. Some want to share their stories. Some have a hard time sharing their stories because of the truth that is embedded in their stories. So we're trying to encourage them to tell their stories. However, we bless up Rankin Ann for being here to share her story in her own words. This is not our words, it's Rankin Ann's words. And she's going to keep with everyone. So I want to come back to Rankin Ann. Humble beginnings and so forth, and strict upbringing are things that ring up in my head. But I want you to take us back to those humble beginnings. Where did it start for you before music became a part?
Okay, I just first want to say greetings to, I can see friends and family all here, and it's just great to see everyone sort of come in. So thank you for joining us. And I'm grateful to you, Sharon, and 10-Star for this kind of platform.
Of course.
Right, so the humble beginnings, right. Let me say this, and I think this is kind of key. It underpins a lot of who I am, where I'm at. I have to say I was actually conceived in church, and I really mean conceived in church. It's both my parents. My dad was a deacon, mum was the evangelist, and I had brother and sister, and they all of them were born in Jamaica. They came to England and they dropped me in UK. Didn't ask them for UK, but this is where they dropped me. But what happened is my brother and sister begged Jesus for a little sister before I came. They said, wow. Jesus, we want a little sister. So, well, they asked my mum first. She said, oh, you have to ask Jesus because, not easy. So the two of them, they begged Jesus for a little sister. So I have to say, I'm conceived in church, basically. And then I came along. They named me in the womb because they knew it was a sister coming. And so I came into this whole environment of church. And I'm talking about strict church. If you know the kind of traditional Black church, the traditional Jamaican church from going way back, way from the 40s, 50s, is. And when I say
Yes.
traditional, when I say radical, it's like basically it's so kind of thou shalt not, and it's so kind of rigid, and that's the way we were brought up, to the point where in our home my father would not have a TV because as far as he was concerned, it was of the devil. So as children, the three of us were brought up in a home with no TV. The plus side of that was that we had books, so we were readers. So we used to get books from the library, get books from the little penny shop down the road. So in a way, that was good for me because it made me a reader, which I think expanded my creativity, my imagination, and just, general ability to read and understand, so that in itself was the plus of all of that. But it was difficult because when you're a small child and everyone else at school has got TV, and they're talking about programs that they saw last night, and I couldn't join in that, so I already felt kind of marginalized, but I tried not to let it put me in that place. So I still tried to kind of blend in without being too obvious, so all that was in our home for entertainment, I said, was books. My mum, she had a beautiful voice and she sang all the time, of course church songs, but it was beautiful. Because the only other music we had, was like the church music, when you go to church, the church songs them. But I think anyone who knows the old time church singing them knows that, sometimes singing is very brawly. So it wasn't even that melodious. So as a child, I didn't even enjoy the church singing. But I said, my mum had a beautiful voice. So that gave me that love of music, melody, We didn't have any real music in the home, to be honest, because my dad would listen to the radio, but it was Radio 4, which was like a talk station more than anything else. He didn't listen to any music as such. When he finally got a gram, the old gram them.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got the one Jim Reeves album.
Welcome to my world.
Welcome to my world too.
And there's one little track on it that, as a youngster, I could relate to. It was one called "Where Do I Go From Here?" It was like a kind of ballad and quite sad, and it kind of appealed to me. But the rest of them was just too kind of,
Yeah.
But then my sister, who's older than me, she was getting into that sort of teenage kind of thing of, I want to say teenage rebellion, but it was very limited rebellion, what could be done in those days. So what she would do is when my dad went to work early in the morning, she would get his radio, then you have to plug it out of the house stop and then go and plug it somewhere else and then put it on Radio 1, which in those days, that was the pop station that was happening. If you want to hear the new music, it would be, Radio 1. So I then got my kind of feel of pop music. So all through my kind of primary school days, it was like pop music, So I knew the pop songs and some of them were okay. And but I was very much a person about lyrics. So the lyrics were still important to me. So I would buy, there was a magazine in those days called, I can't remember what it's called, but used to print out lyrics of the top 10 songs. And I used to buy it, I think it was once a month it came out, and I would buy it and then, sing the songs, I had the lyrics there. But it was just, for me, seeing the kind of construct of the, of the way lyrics are structured. And to me, lyrics were very important. It wasn't just about the beat, the vibe, but the lyrics were very important. I realized from then that words were very important to me, how it came together. How words made you feel. So I knew from that early stage that I did love music, even though, as I said, weren't exposed to anything like reggae music at that point. But I knew that I had a love of music. I think it was only once I got to, I think, the beginning of secondary school, when every now and again, Radio 1 would play, some commercial reggae.
Yeah.
And straight, as soon as I heard it, I knew that, this is me. I love this, I related to it, even though it was commercial stuff at the time. And then my brother, who is also older than me, he then joined the sound system. But once again, all undercover, Dad and Mum don't really know. So he would come and bring back some of the pre-releases then, because they got a Daddy Call, which was a record shop back in the day where people used to get their pre-releases, like every Friday, go and get pre-releases. And he would come back with the pre-release them, and I'd hear him running them down on the gram. And it's like, what this was like, I loved what I was hearing, you know?
Yeah.
And in those days, the pre-release, you had the single on the A side, it was 7-inch usually those times. And then on the B side, you had the dub, instrumental, the dub.
Right.
And when he ran the dub, that is what spoke to me. Seriously, because yeah, as I said, I love lyrics, love, you know, words. But it's when I heard dub, I said, what? It just did to my brain, you know what I'm saying? It just fired something off. It fired off something in the imagination. And then I would say to him, can you give me a couple of his tunes to play when he's not around? So if he had any double, he would give me his tunes. And I'll be just playing the dub side. And what I found would happen is, as I'm playing it, lyrics are coming to me. You know, it's like the dub was speaking to me, and it might be just a 1 line or 2 line, but it was coming to me. And it would usually come from a point of something that I'd experienced or something, you know, that I'd seen somewhere else. And I just started to, in the front room, just chat little lyrics of the dub, you know, and it's just something about dub music. I can't express how much dub music touches me and releases something in me, you know. And that's for me where it started, just very much in my house, playing a few tunes that, you know, my brother gave me. And that's where it started for me.
So before I hand over to Sharon to ask you a couple of questions based off, and I'm strictly trying to, you know, keep to the bio that you presented to us, because I think it's very important to touch upon everything that, you know, that I see in front of me. So your earlier influences, especially when it comes to, I know you mentioned pop music earlier, I think you mentioned that. However, who were your early influences during those early years, and share with us what kind of year span we're looking at when you share these memories?
Okay, if you're talking about the early influences in reggae, for me, it was all those kind of early toasters, as they were known then, people like Trinity, Big Youth, I remember Jack Thomas, that kind of era, from the kind of
General Echo and Liberated.
Oh my gosh, General Echo. Now the thing about Echo, right, because I kind of came to him a little bit later than the others, but what I loved about Echo is that people dubbed him as being slack, and trust me, his lyrics were kind of down below, we know that. But one thing about Echo, because I used to hear the Jamaica sound tapes, and when he's doing his sound lyrics, then he's telling you a story. He's basically telling you a story. And the way he could, you know, chat and tell you a story, and he would have different characters, the different voices. It's like, this is different to any other of the DJs out there. No one else was doing what Echo was doing. You know, it's basically having a little play, you know, a production on the sound system. And I thought, wow, this is really different. And it really impressed me, you know. So Echo, in that respect, I loved what he was doing. On record, Echo didn't come across as, he wasn't to me as hot, sharp on record, but on the sound system, what you hear him doing on the sound system, it was definitely remarkable for that time, you know. And then
master of the mic.
Yeah, he really was. He really was. And what I liked about listening to Echo sound tapes, that he also gave other people a chance to come in, people he may not have been great chatters, but I think I think he was one of the first people that kind of let Sister Nancy come on his on the sound system. I don't know if she'd been on any before, but I think it was the first time I ever heard her voice. That would have been like that had been like 81, 82, and I sort of heard those sound tapes. And basically he would just let people come in and, you know, do what they could do, you know. So I, you know, in that respect, I do have a lot of respect for Echo. And I think it's one of these people that really, you know, was taken out too soon, you know, for whatever the reason, we don't know. But, you know, it's a shame, because I think he had a lot to offer. Even for nowadays, DJs could learn a lot from the way, you know, Echo kind of came across.
Funny enough, it was General Echo where, because I loved his flow, the way he was able to eloquently tell his story, where I got the name General from. At the time, I called my name General B because I wanted to be just like him.
Right.
And one of his early songs, which I knew all the lyrics to, was Sex Educational Class.
Oh, yes, yes. I remember.
General Liquor
You
was
still
the
know the
master.
lyrics? He tends to still know the lyrics?
Ooh, I'm the teacher in the class.
Yes.
Ooh,
Right.
I'm the teacher in the class. Which class?
Sex educational class.
You know it. So
Wow.
I know what you're talking about when you talk about General Echo. I'm going to hand over to my buddy Sharon Mango, and Sharon.
Yes,
There's a lot
sir.
to say, but I'm going to let you take over because I'm a mic hugger.
Well, you won't be hogging too much because our sister's got a lot to say, but yeah, we need her to talk. But
yeah,
do you think, I'm going to ask this, might sound like a weird question. Now, do you think because of your strict upbringing, right, and you read a lot, as you said, words meant a lot to you, how they were put together, and what it means to you, do you think that helped you? Like when you would hear the dub, like the words would come, do you think that that's a part of how you were able to put your words together and just almost like a poet, you just started to flow? Do you feel that? Because I feel that that's just my opinion anyway, but when you really read and you love the words, what words can do for you, and you start to put it together in music, how was that
definitely. Because what I realized is, because obviously when I started chatting, it was like just chatting, freestyle. And then when I started to write my lyrics, I realized it was actually, I was writing poetry. Because if you talk about the music, just looked at the structure, it was a poem, and and I think I do have that thing because I loved English lit at school, literature at school.
Me too.
I love the stories, the creativity, and I love poetry. You know what I'm saying? So I think I always had that kind of form, that kind of brain that liked poetry. Because if you notice, some people when they chat, it's not that poetical. It kind of flows, but it's not like poetical. But with me, there was a sense of poetry in the way, I kind of structured my lyrics. So I think that, as I said, the love of literature in that respect definitely kind of came to play because it was about the story, having some kind of story, and then having that sense of poetry as well. So I think that went a long way, because what I wasn't really into is what I'd call the nonsense chatting, where you just have words that rhyme, and when you ask what does that mean, it has no meaning. And I saw that even some of the early toasters, they sounded good, but if you checked what does that actually mean,
what it means,
it's
true.
Not a lot.
It don't mean nothing.
No, and so it's like so for me, it had to have meaning. I'll tell you the reason why, because I was a very, very quiet child, didn't speak much. Even in teenage, I was very quiet. Not because I didn't have a lot to say, because in my head I had a lot to say. If you had a conversation with me, you might say something and I'm thinking about the answer in my head. By the time I think about it, you've gone to something else. So I was very quiet. And what I found with writing now is that I could express the things that I didn't get to express every day to people around me. I could express it in the music. So I had a lot to say in the music because I had a lot to say in my head, which I never expressed as a young person. So the music was my key form of expression. And that's why for me, it had to make sense, because what was in my head was making sense. So that's why when it came out onto the paper, through my mouth, it had to make sense. So for me, the key to even starting that was expression, because I think as a teenager, and I think, sometimes we kind of misunderstand, teenagers, because that's a hard time in your life. You're trying to make sense of the world, who you are, who you're not. And back in those days, no one talked to us and sat us down and had a conversation with us. You were just supposed to do as you're told. No one sat me down and talked to me about anything to do with the world. So apart from what I learned in the Bible, at Sunday school, at church, what Bible say you're to do, but often Bible doesn't translate to everyday living, as a young person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so basically I learned a lot from listening to reggae music. It was more about Jamaican culture, but I still learned a lot. And that taught me about, you know, people's character, the way people think about other people. For example, I remember one of the first songs that really kind of made me take note of how people can actually disrespect people in song was the Patrick Andy song, Woman is the Root of All Evil. Now that I think came out in the 70s. Now that song had a wicked bass line and a wicked dub. I used to dance to the dub, and then suddenly one day I listened, I said, what am I saying? Woman is the root of all evil. And suddenly I stopped. Right. I stopped dancing to it, because when he was singing, I would not dance to it. God. Because seriously, I'm saying, you're coming out and you're saying that. Really? Really? And I'm saying, I wonder if people realize how powerful their words are and the meaning of what their words have. And then I realized I started to take stock of what people were saying, because I'm saying people are often saying really quite cruel, undermining, patronizing things, but because it's in song, people just say, yeah. And no, you can't just say yeah because it's music, because words have meaning, you know?
Right, yes.
Very true. Very true. It's funny you say that. Oh Lord, what have I done? Okay, we're still here.
We're still here.
Yeah. Now, it's funny we have that conversation, because recently I was talking to Ansel from Meditations, you know, the meditation from way back when. And he's going to be coming to the show. And there's a particular song that he did that I want to just remember. Bear with me, because it kind of touches upon what you just said. It's like, I forget the name of the song, but it also touches upon, you know, me remembering what you said about certain lyrics that came across very offensive. Now, when I remember the name of the song, I will definitely tell you what it was. But it's important for me to remember. Just bear with me. This is just, bear with me. I may have to find it, because we are the...
You're not talking about, is it a Max Romeo song? Because Max Romeo had that song, Wet Dreams.
No.
Anybody remember that?
But even that was about his own personal experience. It wasn't, to me,
I know.
that even though people saw it as it was rude.
It was
but
called
basically
Woman is
he was
Like
talking,
a Shadow.
Woman is like a
listen,
right.
that song,
I said,
oh my gosh.
I said, know that song is going to put you in trouble when you come on my show.
No, seriously. No, I remember when I heard that song and I really thought, but I said, woman is like a shadow. We shadow girl.
Like
never true.
No, come on.
Yeah.
What would make a man want to say that? Someone can help me here?
Well, I can only think that he must be sharing. I don't want to speak for him, because he's going to have to speak for himself when he comes on. And he's on his own, by the way. Anyway, he's on his own when he shares his story, especially with that particular song.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
it must be a real life story.
But is there a line in that song that says "Never let a woman know how you feel" or something? Is that the same song? There's a song that says "Never let a woman know how you really feel" or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm saying, you know what? Talk about miseducation. You know, and this is where I would really love to have a platform to educate. I don't just say men, because they're going to tell me, say I'm this and that, but really men, because seriously, you just, if you're saying you can't tell a woman how you feel about her, that's the way to go forward, you're wrong. That is the wrong way to go.
That is the wrong move.
Oh my gosh, because we need to know about the feelings.
But you know, the amazing thing about what you talk about is that the rhythms behind these iconic, which we now look at as iconic songs, right? They're so sweet to the belly, but the lyrical content was like, whoa. It's like you sit down and digest the message. It's like powerful, you know?
And that's why I got away with it, because as I said, the tunes were sweet. And when you're listening to it and you're soaking up the melody and the vibe and you're dancing to it, most people actually don't listen to lyrics that deeply, especially if they're in a dance. So that's why people could, and still do, because if you listen to some of the songs nowadays, you fret when things they're saying in the songs then. You know, so it's all worse for most people. Yeah, it's all about just that. Yeah, the music is sweet and it's really sad. So I just think, as I said, words are so powerful, so powerful.
I want to take you back to, again, I'm reading off your bio, words that you put in there. I know you mentioned that you was a quiet child and unexpressed, but another, because words do matter, especially when you're using specific words like repressed child.
Yeah,
Just share with me what that word means and follow it into hearing songs by the people that stood out to you as an individual. Did it shape who you became? Because you became very vocal about especially females' rights in the, just in society in general. Share with us.
Yeah. Okay, when I talk about repressed, the key thing I sort of put that down to is that there was no space to, as a child, talk about what I wanted to talk about, what I was thinking, what I was doing. It was a case of you just listened. Or I had to just, you listen to what the grown-ups were saying, and there was no voice. I had no voice. And I think being the baby of the family, my two siblings, they were more kind of, they had each other because they were more the same age. So as the baby, you don't even have a conversation, because in those days, people didn't converse with little ones, So yeah, I was read to, they used to read me little storybooks, but in terms of having a conversation about your little feelings, that never happened. And, the most I'd ask them to do is ask them, can you read to me, or can you play this with me? But there was no real expression. As I got older, I should sort of kind of underpin it with saying that my father was a very, very angry man. Even though, as I said, he was a pastor, from deacon to pastor, but he had this rage, which when that let rip, it wasn't pretty. So as a child, and even, his wife, you just wanted to avoid waking that dragon, So we learned to tiptoe around our dad, which meant being quiet. And I remember my mum, her watchword was, Fiducia peace. So basically, you anything that was going to rupture the peace, you mustn't do it, you mustn't say it. And I know that there was things I went to ask, like if ever there was like a little children's party that, you talk about 9, 10, little children's party, mum would say, you have to go and ask your dad if you want to go. And it would take, I'd have to be plucking up my courage, and I'd be, you have to knock on the door, and you'd go and you'd come back, and it was like this stress factor in this child's stomach to ask to go to a little children's party. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think no child should have to live in that kind of stress factor. But the biggest thing was basically not being able to be yourself because your father's anger was the biggest thing in the house, basically, Right. So in terms of, even, I remember one time we was in our room, and we was all laughing as children. And he went past it, stop you laughing, stop you laughing. So even laughter was restricted. So can you imagine? Wow. Can you imagine how repressive that is? You know what I'm saying? As a small child, you soak that up, and even when you're not in the house, you still have that thing of everything's locked away. It doesn't just, at school, I was fairly quiet. So it didn't sort of come out of school, and I was kind of rebellious at school. It was just this person that kept everything locked away. And it was the fear factor of what's going to happen if you let this out. And that came from growing up with our dad. And as I said, because our mum was the peacemaker, she was always making sure, don't upset your daddy. Don't, and when you live with that, you go through life with that of not wanting to upset people, people, And I think, so when it got to the point of me now writing lyrics, I wrote them because I felt them, and because I think what I really disliked in life was people who were kept down, people who were in chains, because even though my mum's lovely, but she was chained because she had to do as this man wished her to do, Right. So I saw even a beautiful personality like this, like my mum, still was repressed in her own right, And I just thought, we're not supposed to live like that. The most key thing to me as I got into my teenage was freedom. I craved freedom so much, because when I began to see that there was something outside of the four walls of my house, I thought, no, I want freedom, but I didn't know how to get that freedom. So the only thing I could do was to write and chat lyrics, you know. And I really have this kind of, I despise seeing people held down, you know, repressed and chained and not allowed to be who they are. Even today, I see it. And that's the one thing I don't like. I think people have got to be free to be who they are, as long as you're not harming other people or yourself. That's the only proviso in that, you know.
Right.
So basically, this kind of thing for, you know, wanting freedom, it did shape the lyrics, you know, the lyrics that I wrote. And when I used to see how women, I'm talking about young women as well, because now I got to a stage now where by some good fortune, I managed to sort of at weekends go and stay with my auntie and my cousin and get to go to little house parties. So I began to see a different, you know, people, little people that their girlfriends and their boyfriends and go out and dance and, you know, little relationships. And I still was realizing that the girls were still the, you know, getting the rough end of the relationships. You know, the boys had all the kind of control, who they wanted to go out with and who they, you know, and who was put in the corner and what they're allowed to do. You can't look at that boy. You can't talk to that boy. Come here when I, and as a young girl, seriously. So even from then, I realized that there was this kind of imbalance between males and females, even at that kind of young age. And it's like, I thought, no, I don't like this. So I did start talking about the way men or boys treated women, you know, because it really kind of got to me that it's not just about being, you know, stuck in a strict church that makes people repressed and suppressed, but just even out, you know, where you're supposed to be free. People are still living these lives, you know, and I saw young girls who were afraid to, you know, to do things because their boyfriend wouldn't like it. And then when I learned that, then you'd hear that young girls got slapped by their boyfriends. It's like, what? You know? So this began to, this is getting now to like 16, 17, 18. And I'm realizing that, oh my gosh, you know, girls, women have actually a really rough time, because up until that point, when you're at school, you don't really see it so much. But when you get into that, you know, got into that college level and seeing people in relationships, you realize that there's a real imbalance. There's a real imbalance in the way, you know, girls, women are treated, you know. So that is what shaped my early, you know, my early lyrics. They were talking about how the young boys treat the girls, and it was fine for a man to say out loud, I'm going to Birmingham to see my woman in Birmingham. Then me come back to London for the one in Peckham. And for everyone, it was fine because, yeah, he's a boy, he's a man, that's all right. That's what men do. But if a woman has a boyfriend, look at the next man, oh, she's called all kind of names and gets a slap.
Yes, right,
and I thought, this picture is very, very, it's wrong.
It's like an advocate was being born.
Right.
For very eyes. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, because the lyrics became very militant and you know, powerful, where I think men started to look at you in the wrong way. That I think they were misconstruing your message and the intent behind your message. Before we go into all that, and I hand over to Sharon Mango, I want you to just share with us how you got into the music industry in the beginning, and what year was it?
Okay, so as I said, I started to get a little freedom to go to dances and blues dance. And what happened was I used to rave with my sister in New Vienna. Maybe she's in the house. I can't see her in the house, but she might be in the house somewhere. Okay. And she knew that I could chat, you know what I'm saying? But as I said, I'm a very quiet person, very kind of, don't really push myself forward. So sometimes we'd go to a dance and she said to the sound man, oh, you know, my friend can chat at some of these like little blues dance. And you'd see the sound man would be saying like, they don't want to give me the mic because that's a girl. But sometimes every now and again, I'd get to hold the mic and chat for lyrics, and you'd see their eyebrows go up and whatever. And then my brother had a sound system back then, and he had some dances, and, you know, because he had heard me probably chat like in the front room, he gave me a chance on the mic. And I remember the first time I went, you know, he had this sort of biggish dance. And the first time I chat on the mic, it was like a two rooms, one upstairs, one downstairs. And I was in the room downstairs with the sound, and I was chatting on the mic. And then the other man who owned the sound, he rushed into the room. He looked who was on the mic, and he said, "I thought it was a little boy on the mic, you know." He goes, "What? Ann, are you?" He said, "Ann, you're ranking," because in those days, ranking was a term to big you up and say, you know, you're up there. So that's where the name Ranking Ann came from. When the man from Black Rock, calling Black Rock, said, "Ann, you're ranking." So I thought, good name, Ranking Ann. So that's how I started to get my confidence on the mic. And then shortly after that, I used to go to the local record shop to buy my tunes every week. And once again, my good friend Nubiana was telling one of the men in the record shop that, you know, and she chats, you know. So he said, "Yeah, what?" He goes, "There's a producer that is looking for new talent. Just put your material on a cassette and I'll, you know, let him hear it." And I did that, put some tracks on the cassette, and I didn't know who this person was. I didn't know who the producer was. And shortly after, the same guy in the record shop said, "Yeah, man, this man, he likes it, and he'd like to meet you, at the studio." And it turned out to be Neil Fraser, my professor.
Okay.
And so went to the studio. At that time it was in his front room. And he ran some tracks because he had Holy tracks that, you know, Holy tracks running some tracks. So he said to me, "Oh, you're going to, you know, go in the voicing room there, put on the headphones and just feel it out." And at that time, obviously I had lyrics that I'd been, you know, kind of playing with. And I remember I just went in there and I felt so comfortable hearing my voice in my ears. I loved it. I thought for the first time I actually heard how I really sounded. Because up until that point, I didn't know how I actually sounded because it was actually in my ears. And it's like I just felt so comfortable. And the more I could hear myself in the headphones with the track running, the more I just felt the vibe. And I just was running lyrics. I didn't even have it written down because I think that one of the first ones I did was the one called Conscious Man. If you listen to that, it's just got a flow because I just had this natural flow. And because it was all based on true stories, that was based on true stories. It was Carly Nim in that song, but never mind. It just flows. And it's like, it was, because, you know, a lot of people who've got talent, when you put them in the studio, they sometimes fall apart. With me, it was different. It's like it gave me confidence. I actually could hear myself, and I liked what I heard, and I liked the vibe. So that's how I got introduced to Ariwa through the man in the record shop. So I was just laying tracks. By that time, I had just left to go to university in Wolverhampton. So I'd have to sort of come down at weekends and, you know, lay tracks, you know. So I didn't have a lot of time, but anytime I came down, I'd lay a couple of tracks here and there and whatever. And I didn't have any idea. And I'm trying to remember clearly because I don't want to misrepresent, but I didn't have any idea because at that time, Ariwa was just starting out. He was like newbie, you know, he would make it, you know, his productions was like trial and error. And basically, you know, it didn't always sound great, but, you know, he was trying something new himself. You know, he was doing something he loved and, you know, whatever. So I don't remember him ever saying that these tracks that you've laid, I'm going to put them out, I'm going to release them. I don't remember ever having that conversation. But I remember one day coming back to London and he presented me with this white label album with my tracks on it. So obviously, you know, and he said, "Yeah, that's your album," and it had the handwritten titles on it. So I got back home, played it, and no word of a lie, the disappointment in me, because the production was not what I expected. Bear in mind, I'm used to, my thingy is yard music, coming, you know, Jamaican production, you know, you've got Channel One, you've got Joe Gibbs, you know, Jammies, you've got all those people, scientists, all those people, those are the people that I'm hearing and loving that kind of quality of production. Because back then I wasn't, you know, the kind of UK scene wasn't that big to say whatever. So when I heard his mix, his production, I said, And then on top of that, what he did, and this is the bit that really to this very day, I still have to keep the anger down, is he put some little effects on my voice. So he would tweak it to make me sound like Pinky and Perky, or sound like they were like my backing vocals was Pinky and Perky. Come on, I'm supposed to be a serious DJ, and you put me with Pinky and Perky.
Like two gremlin and try to sing.
No, I'm telling you, it hurt me, because to me it was almost like making a mockery of what I was trying to express. So I had that disappointment in that album, and as I said, some of the tracks on that album were not actually ready for release, because you know, you go in the thing, you do a little test run in the studio and you leave it there to come back and fix it up. So, you know, there's a track on there particularly that I never finished that track, but he whacked it out on the album. And to me, it was this kind of dismissiveness. So I did say to him, I'm not happy at all with this. And basically said, well, you know, but basically his thing was, he's trying to make his brand, which was like a kind of crazy kind of dub thing, you know, he's trying to eke out his little kind of brand. So I don't think he cared that much.
What year are we talking about? Right,
we're now talking about 1982, because I laid those tracks in 1981. So by the time he got them out, I think on the white label, it had been end of 81, 82. I think he released it properly with proper labels, I think in maybe 82, but in 81, he had some white labels floating around. So yeah, that was about 81 when that's when I started to.
And was Conscious Man your first recording?
Yeah, if I remember rightly, once again, I don't want to misrepresent, but that was one of the first ones I did, that one. And I think also Immigration Plan, but not the version that's been released, because the original version was wiped. And I think also Shotgun Wedding, I think, was one of the early ones. But the thing is, there's actually more, but because I never saw the release or they were wiped, there's things that I don't remember that I laid. I laid tracks, I laid many tracks that, because even Conscious Man, I only remember that because he put it out recently. But I didn't even remember that track. So I think I've laid tracks there that got wiped or whatever. That I can't remember, but yes, that Conscious Man was one of the early. I think that was one of the early sessions.
I think I was the person who told you that Conscious Man was released, and it didn't come out. It didn't come out on the Ranking Ann. It came out on the Ranking Man. So I'm like, who's Ranking Man? You got a twin that.
Wow.
No, it wasn't funny, because what I then realized is that this is, to me, and I, you know, not judging, but I'm going by, you know, kind of evidence, is that the ploy on some of that you know, some of these companies do is they misspell your name. Because when I looked back at some of my tunes, it's credited to A.S. Winton. Now my name is Swinton. Now to me, that little misspelling could be the difference between it coming into your coffers or going elsewhere. And I realized on quite a few of my tracks, there was this deliberate it's deliberate, because he knows my name. You know, this deliberate misspelling on these tracks, you know. And at first I just thought it's just careless. And I realized, no. I think that's actually quite a deliberate ploy, so that it's easier to misdirect funds if you've got the wrong spelling of the person on the record. So when this Ranking Man came out, I thought, no, that's once again another ploy just to kind of undermine, you know, my rights to the tune. But in saying that, I have to say everything that's been released, I think apart from the second album, has been released without my permission, without any consultation. So these things were just put out there, no consultation, no permission. And I, you know, and it's only when I heard, I think, Scientist on that show that he was on, when he said that you're supposed to seek permission from the artist before you do anything with a track, that I realized, wow.
Yeah.
Well, before I hand over to Sharon, let me just play just a few bars of Conscious Man, and then Sharon will take it away from there. All right?
Okay.
So take a listen.
Special request, say coming from the west. Coming from the west, me say a special request, just come from the west. Me say me really want a conscious man. Me say me looking for a conscious man. Ram, me say me really want a
Me want a conscious man, even when he's little bit. Eh?
You know what? You come in like
Even as a
heavyweight
teenager,
boxer,
me a look
ready
conscious
to knock out anyone who have a mic in your man. You are rough and tough. I'm gonna play it one more time. Come in, Rankin.
Special request to say coming from the west. Coming from the west. Me say a special request just a come from the west. Me say me really want a conscious man. Me say me looking for a conscious man. Ram me say me really want a companion. Ram me say me looking for a conscious man.
Ram me say me you want a companion.
Ram me say the man of today them a angry of course. Ram me a brag and a post me a post. You feel them we be opposed.
Oh!
Why? You're not easy. You were.
Can I just say something? This is what people. This is how people misunderstood me, Rankin Ann, because what I tried to do is to put in a little humor. So it wasn't supposed to. See, people got offended with these words. I'm saying, but you know something. I'm not just there to bash people. I want you to hear the message. But when you put a little sugar in, little humor. But people never seem to spot the humor in my lyrics. It was always just about, yes, you're militant and you rant and you rave. And it's like, there's more to me than that, because I like it, to smile at things and you can take bad things and make joke, basically, but
ever dawned on you that they could have been intimidated by you?
I think there was no question.
Sharon, take over from here.
There was no question, because the reason why I say that is because, and it's, as I said, I look back at my young life and I have to shake my head, because when I used to go out and do shows, okay, because I know on the stage, I do come across with a militance. It's not something that I plan, it's just something that comes out. It's a vibe that comes out. And one of the first shows one of the first shows I ever did that got a review, I think it was a man from the Caribbean. I don't remember his name now. I wish I did remember his name I could. But he wrote this review about my performance, and he said, Rankin Ann, she strode up and down the stage like a ranting housewife. That's all he saw. All he saw was a woman ranting, not a woman expressing feelings and thoughts, a woman ranting. And I thought you could feel the kind of venom in the way he wrote about me. But there was other people on the show, people like Sandra Cross and Sister Audrey, and he wrote much more gently about the other people. But no, I was the ranting housewife strutting up and down the stage. And what I realized is that my stage presence did intimidate, or as some people say, emasculate men, which was never the intention. Because that's not me. I'm here to build bonds between men and women. But you can only build a bond by having understanding. So if you understand what's going wrong, so you can put it right, that's how you're going to build bonds. But no, for so long, all I got was this kind of, as I said, people were intimidated. And I remember I did like many shows, some in this country, but quite a few in Europe. And I realized, because I said I was, I was young and sprucey, and the men didn't never come talk to me at the end of the show. They wouldn't, it's like they were afraid. And I said, well, how come the sisters them get the men talking to them and I never get none? So, but I realized it's because they had this kind of image that I was kind of like, keep away from me, don't like men. I'm thinking it's, people really can totally misinterpret a person, and by not getting to know and understand what they're really trying to do,
So I'm going to take you back just a little bit. Now, Rankin Ann now is becoming this person, right? What was how did your family feel about that? When your brother heard you, what did your brother think? And how did your parents feel about that?
Well,
the way you were going?
Firstly, the parents know nothing about it. I led a double life from teenage till the day dot. I'm not going to lie to you. I led a double life. So even though there's a point where when I was going away to do shows abroad, obviously I'd tell them I'm going abroad to know who I am, but they never really heard, well, my dad never heard my music. I remember playing my mum one of my tunes, and she listened to it. She goes, so what does rod mean? When you say rod, what does that mean? Because I initially thought I was swearing, because obviously that would not have gone down well. But I think, even though she said, yeah, it kind of sounded good, but they didn't have any, because their whole thing was the Christian thing. And if you wasn't in the Christian way, then really what you're doing was kind of not really, edifying, But in saying that, as I said, my mum and dad, once they knew I was doing shows abroad, they didn't discourage me. So by that time, I had left uni. So they I guess to a degree, they couldn't really too much say no, but they never had any interest. And because I know their background and what they like, I wouldn't even, bring that to them to let them hear my music. Because as I said, even some family members, because as I said, I'm a person, I don't talk about myself. If you know me and I'm, and you move with me and you know what I'm doing, that's fine. But I'm not gonna, I think even a lot of my family didn't have any idea what I was doing, because as I said, I fell into it almost by default. I didn't go into it saying, I want to be a star, I want to be known. It wasn't about it. It was about me expressing myself. The music went out there, the shows followed, and I enjoyed all of that. But it was never with the thing of, I want to be a star, I want to be a celebrity, because my mind was about freedom. As I have to go back to this. And for me, freedom meant getting away from my parents' home, so my focus was like, I need to leave university, and that was 3 years of freedom at university. And then back home, and I'm thinking, I can't live like this again, because this is still repression again, because I'm still not able to be who I want to be. I can't come in certain hours, even though I was, a grown woman. So my thing was, I need to be free. I need to have my own place. So it's like, how am I going to do this? Right. And it had to be about getting a job, because at that point, there was no money in it, because there was no discussion of money, and there was no money in it. In the music, I should say. So for me, it's like, I had to find a job. So that was my main thing. I found, got myself a decent job, so that in the end, I'll be able to move out and be my own place. So it's all about being free. So that was kind of my focus more than anything else. It wasn't really about the business, because I said, I love music, I love performing, I love writing, I love recording. I love listening to myself, I'm not going to lie. But in terms of being a star and, I'm going to make it big and bag I'm on it, that was never on my agenda, because, as I said, it was never offered. Because I said, my first album was put out without permission. There was nothing to say money coming in for that up till now. Yeah. So basically, it wasn't about the money. It was never about the money.
Wow. Still. Okay, so your brother. I'm curious about your brother, because he was your older brother. This is the other thing. And, I have to be really real. The people closest to me in terms of family, they didn't really give me a lot of props. Because I remember playing my brother Black Rock Posse. Obviously, that's his sound, Black Rock Posse. And I think, he related that, because he all the people in it were part of the sound system and whatever. But in terms of giving me props, and saying, let me come to your show. I don't remember him ever coming to any of my shows, and I remember other people in the posse that, a real posse used to move around, their family would always be there supporting them. I can't remember. I don't think he ever came to any of my shows, so I didn't get the support. And maybe because we weren't, we were living in different spaces at that time, but no, there was no real support. And I think that even to this day, the people that support me the most are strangers. Are strangers, it's not the family, even to this day. I remember just a couple of years ago, I was saying to my nephew, did you know that, your dad's famous, he's got a record with his name in it? And they said no. So they looked up on their little, their phones, and they said, Rankin, is that you? So I said, hold on a minute. Oh no, it's 20 something. And on the phone, and I tell you, say, wow. And I'm saying that says a lot, because if my family hasn't even shared with their children, seriously. So when the nephews was going through the thing saying, you got all these records out on YouTube, they were shocked. And it took me, and as I said, they're grown up now, to tell them. I think that tells me a lot about the commitment, or the way my family views, my talent or what I do. So
I've never seen any, you know, in terms of real support. And if they're, you know, they might feel offended me saying that, but no, not really. I think my real kind of props comes from outside, not the family.
And do you reckon that could have been because of the way you guys were brought up as a family, not to really have a voice or share your inner thoughts with each other? Because you did say you felt quite repressed, and that could have been said for everyone else within your family household. Did you ever think of it that way?
I thought it was more to do with the fact that as siblings, we didn't really have a kind of, when I say close, we didn't sit down and just talk to each other in the real sense of the word. If one was in need, we'd be there for that person because we always had that loyalty. But in terms of real interaction, where I sit down and tell my sister about my life or tell my brother about my life, because things happened to me in my 20s that I've never shared with my siblings, never up to this day. And they're important things, you know what I'm saying? So we never had that relationship where we sat down and talked. I would be the one that would listen if they wanted to talk, but I was never the one, because one thing with me, if you ask me a question, I will tell you. If you don't ask me, that shows me that maybe you're not that interested in me. So no one really asked me anything about, you know, my career, where it was going, what was happening. So I didn't see any real interest. So no, I just felt that that's how we are as a family. We, you know, we don't seem to show that much interest. Well, they don't seem to show much interest in what I do. And as I said, I just got used to it because I never expected more from them, to be quite honest, because the way we kind of lived our lives, you know.
I'm giving back the mic because I took the mic from Miss Mango. So Miss Mango.
Oh, listen, can I just say something before? No, listen, I have to say something. I've just seen something in chat. My darling niece is in chat. Hi, Serene. And she did say she was listening to my tapes from when she was little, and she said it was fun memories for her as a kid. Thank you, Serene, darling. Thank you. Serene. And that's the thing, I must say, this is the joke about it. She was born way after I wrote those tunes. And it's funny how the ones that come so much after the fact are more appreciative than those that were there at the time. So yeah, respect Serene, love and respect. So yes, and yes, she does. Sometimes she finds things for me on YouTube and on Spotify that I didn't even know is there. She finds.
Oh wow, she's the research queen. Bless
yes, she is, absolutely. Because some things that I didn't even know was re-released and republished, you know, in these days. Once again, without permission, she's found them for me. So yes, I must not, you know, I wasn't disrespecting that, but because you asked me about my siblings, that's why I say in those respect. But no, that some of the younger ones now, because I do have some lovely godchildren, and I think there's one on here, Miss Mike is here, and they are so supportive. You know, the younger ones, they are supportive. You know what I'm saying? If I say to one of the younger ones, I'm doing a show, do you want to come? They're there. You know, they're there. Yeah. And that's why my next show, they're going to have them as my dancers. So young ladies in the chat there, who's my relatives, you're going to be the dancing at Rankin Ann's dancers on the next show, okay? Start getting the steps right. Watch the video.
Let's fly Sharon Mango over so she can be an extra.
Yeah, all right then, I'll be there.
Me and you will do our thing in the background.
We'll be in the back.
So that the over 50s still got it. That's my move. I'm stuck on it.
Sure. Oh man.
Let me just take time to bless up everyone who has come in the building. Some of the names I can't see them, but bless up each and every one who is in the building. Sharon, I'm going to hand back to you so you can ask further questions.
Okay, so now we want to say the first album came out, not by your permission. What happens after that? What was your next steps?
Right.
After so that album came out.
Yeah, that came out in 82. I was still at uni then. I finished uni in 83, and within I think a week of finishing uni, Ariwa had set up shows. So I had a show. I mean, I think the first show I ever did, if I'm not wrong, is I think it was somewhere in the Midlands. I'm sure it was somewhere in the Midlands, not far from actually where I was at uni. And it was like a little kind of midweek club with some, you know, elderly black men there, you know, the ones that come just to drink. And I remember I went on, it's a very low stage, very low, maybe a foot or a foot and a half off the ground. And as soon as the band started to play, I felt, you know, I'm a person like, once I hear the music, I'm in the zone, you know what I'm saying? And I remember I was there, you know, doing my tunes. I looked down and these little old men, arms up to one another at the stage front, swaying like this. You know, it's like, even though they were there to drink, and once I came on, they're there at the front swaying with their arms around. This is nice, because I could look in their eyes and see they were enjoying them. And I'm saying, this is what it's about, the human contact, you know, looking at people, seeing their reaction. And from that, I said, I loved doing live shows because I love to see the reaction. I love to be able to make eye contact with people and see their response, and I see them smiling and what. And I thought, yeah, man, this is it. And from the time I finished uni, Ariwa arranged, I have to say, almost back-to-back live shows. And because, as I said, it was a Ariwa Posse, and we consisted of a kind of whole a variety of reggae. So you had roots and culture, male roots and culture. So you had like a Quizim, the band of Quizim. Then you had roots and culture sisters like Sister Audrey. Then you had lovers rock like Sandra Cross. And then you had the male vocalist like Sergeant Pepper, and he did like a mix of lovers and roots. And you know, so you had this you have to call it like a reggae variety show. And then you had me. Right. So wherever we went, there was something for everybody. So if you had a crowd, they would come and find something. If it was lovers, if it was roots and culture, if it was emceeing, there was something for everybody, you know. So everywhere we went, I say virtually everywhere we went, there was a really great response, you know. And for me, it was like, wow, I had no idea that, you know, from my little front room to the studio to this, you know, you can see people, and, you know, sometimes the crowd was big, sometimes it wasn't, but the crowd, they always responsive, you know. And the one that shocked me was when we went to Europe, because we did Germany, Belgium, what's the other place? Amsterdam, Switzerland. And I mean, Germany, I thought, seriously, I didn't know much about Germany in the early 80s. And when I saw the response in Germany, I was shocked. I'm saying, I'm sure a lot of people here don't know what the heck I'm saying. They don't know what I'm saying, but yet they were just, you could see the response. You know what I'm saying? You could see the response was there, and the interest was there. And when the show ended, they were still milling around, like wanting more. And I loved, I think Germany was one of the best places that we played. And then later on, we did places like Switzerland. That was great as well. But I think the place that shocked me, and I think that's probably the last place I kind of did with the posse, was Yugoslavia. Now, didn't know much about that as a country. Yugoslavia, yeah. Didn't know much about that as a country. So, yeah, and it was the heights of winter.
Wow.
The place cold. And it was an outdoor thing. But the crowd, I couldn't even see the end of the crowd. I couldn't even see the end of the crowd. And the play is raining, and there's enjoy. And I said, what? It cold, it's a rain. And them is still and that's dedication. And it really, I tell you, that was one of the best shows I've ever done. It was one of the best shows because, as I said, the crowd was massive. It was outdoor. We were undercover, but the crowd was outdoor. And even though it was cold and wet, they were still there. And I'm saying, wow, this is how powerful reggae music is, and how wonderful that even there's probably language barriers, it didn't matter. The people just loved it, and the response was wonderful. So all that so this is so from 83, 84, as I said, back-to-back gigs. As I said, because I had, you know, by that time, got my own place, I realized I had to get a job that was really going to cover my bills, because, you know, bills were getting bigger and bigger. So I got a job that was actually more demanding. It was like a full-time job, which meant I was doing less gigs. I was doing less recording because the job was very demanding. So by about 85, 86, I was doing less and less work. So sometimes there would be gigs going on, but I couldn't because I couldn't just take the time off willy-nilly because I was working for local authority. So the gigs slowed down for me, even though the posse was still, you know, doing gigs. So by about, I'd say 86, I was hardly doing any gigs. By that time, I'd done the second album, which was, I think, 84, Something Fishy. And once again, parts of it I was kind of with, but some of the album that went out, some of it was unfinished, but was still put out. But at least I gave permission for that album because I was part of the design of the cover, the album cover, and, you know, the track listings. So I felt a little bit more part of that. But as I said, because of my full-time job, which I said, my life wasn't about being some musical superstar. It was about living a life of freedom. And that meant being in my own space. So my 9 to 5 had to take priority. So by 96, I was not 86, sorry. By 86, I was hardly doing, you know, any live gigs.
So all this touring in Europe, you weren't paid for the performances? Were these not paid performances?
Let me tell you the honest truth, there was a little bit of money, but this is how it ran. So most of the time we got decent, like, hotels. Obviously you have to stay overnight in what. So most of the time, the hotels we had to arrange our own transport. So what the coup would be is right, now then, because this much has gone on transport, this much has gone on that. So all that's left in the coffers is this much. So you'd get a little thing in your back pocket, but it was the joy of traveling, being in a different country and performing. Because I said, for me, because I was a working woman, it didn't matter that it was just a little back pocket money, little pocket money. Others would rely on that money for their household. So for some people, it was a big issue. But the money sometimes, by the time we're told all this came out the bill and we had to buy you food, so that went on the food bill. Sometimes some people come on with nothing, and it would cause vexation for a lot of people. But
of course.
Because I said I was earning my 9 to 5, so I wasn't relying on that money. So for me, that was like my hobby. But for others, that was their life. You know, that was how they were earning their money. So basically, you know, I said it didn't bring in the shows didn't bring in a lot of money, because you said the posse, you know, we worked, you know, as a posse, a group of people, a package. So that had to be split between everybody. And then we got a full band plus the individual singers. So in the end, not a lot of money was made, because we were always told, expenses. And by the time you scrape out expenses, you know?
Let me ask you a question. Because I mean, we're talking about as far as 86.
86,
right?
Yeah.
We're talking as far as 86. So since you joined Ariwa, which I would imagine would have been about the tail end of 81, right?
Yeah.
To where you came to
it's the beginning of 81.
86.
Beginning of 81, sorry.
Right. So at what point in your career did the business aspect and getting paid royalties kick in to your whole psyche, that it's time to get paid and it's time to do business the right and proper way?
Okay, it took a while. Let me backtrack. By the time I had done the second album, Ariwa produced some little I call them A5 bits of paper. I don't know if anyone remembers carbon paper. So it was like 3 sheets with carbon, you know, so you could write
carbon paper.
It will come through to the third sheet. And this was, we were told that this was how you register your music, and you register it with PRS, which is the Performing Rights Society, and MCPS, which is the Mechanical Rights Society. And basically, once you've registered your works, you will get, you know, your royalties. So any airplay and whatever, you'll get your pay directly. So I was given, you had to write one of these sheets out for each track. So I remember writing out for all the tracks on English Toast and all the tracks on Something Fishy. And I remember something like you had to put the percentage in. So Obviously the people who play the music got a percentage, the record company got a percentage, and then I think my percentage would have been something like 25%. I remember it was about 25% as the artist and the writer I would get.
That's right.
So all these were signed, and I would keep my little flimsy copy, and the rest would go to PRS and MCPS. So I thought, yeah, everything's kosher, everything's good. And then I remember one day catching sight, because I did have access to the Ariwa office at one point. I remember one day catching sight of a paper that was from PRS, and it was breaking down how much money was coming out for different tunes, was being sent out for different tunes. And I remember seeing my name on it, but because I'm not fast and I don't really read up private papers, I remember seeing my name on it and seeing that money was being paid for it. So I'm thinking, okay, that it must be coming through Ariwa to pay us. And nothing came through. But because as I said, in a way, I was kind of too quiet and not pushy enough. And I should have said, when are we going to get, the PRS money? But I never said anything. And that would have been about 84. And never saw anything, from PRS. And then because I left the following year, and once I left, I didn't have anything to do with it. So I had just kind of, shut that kind of thing behind me and didn't even think any further about it. Because I had no idea how much my tunes were being sold. Because there was no feedback, there's no receipts, So it was only with the advent of YouTube and Facebook that I realized that people had bought my tunes far and wide. And I thought, so how come I haven't seen no money? Because I was a PRS member and I would get a little trickle from other things that I'd done, like I'd done other, other projects outside of Ariwa, and I see a little trickle of money on that for that. But, maybe a little £2 from Ariwa coming in here and there. But I'm saying I don't understand, because if after all these years, PRS has been paying money for all, and by that time I'd have had at least 20 or so titles with Ariwa. And I didn't understand it. So this now, I got onto Facebook and YouTube about 2008, and that's when I realized, oh my gosh, this is, my things have been selling. But at that point, I still was just getting on with my own life. I wasn't going to make it into an issue, And then it's only, I think, by about 2011, when life got a bit difficult for me in terms of, a job, whatever, I said, you know what, let me see if I can get little money. Because 30 odd years of royalties, there must be a little something in the coffers for me by now. So I made contact with Ariwa and said, what about these royalties? You've never paid me any royalties. It's like I said the most dirtiest word in the world, because it's like he was like, well, how much do you think you've sold? How much tunes do you think you've sold? That was back in those days that, but you haven't sold any tunes in these days. And I'm saying, yeah, but surely you can date back to, because you obviously the money's coming to your coffers. So whether it's 30 years ago or not, surely you should, I should get some money. So he asked me, how much do you think you should get? And I'm saying, I don't know. You must have the receipts as to what's been sold and whatever, and from PRS.
Even if it's a pound, give him my pound.
Say it again.
Even if it's £1, give me my £1. I worked for it.
Exactly.
But this is the ploy. So it's like, so how much do you think you should get? So I'm saying, I don't know. You just, So I said, all right, at least to me, I'm trying to be reasonable, because I'm saying 30 years worth of sales, plays, whatever. I said, a couple of grand at least. Couple of grand. Oh no, you're not worth a couple of grand. Not all the years of selling or whatever. No, you're not worth a couple of grand. Even though you've re-released my tunes, how much time, right down to the 2000 and something, re-release it, republish it, whatever, reprint it. So I said, all right then. what do you think? They said, well, bearing in mind, statute of limitations, because you can't claim for, more than 6 years. And I'm thinking, but, you've been collecting money on my works for 30 odd years, but I can only talk about the last 6 years. And yes, and because you haven't really, had much activity in the last 6 years, I'll give you £600. £600. I said, I had to zip my lip because the anger I felt, so I'm saying, you know what, you've already done enough damage in the past. Now that you could mend it, but at least give me something that's worthy of, because £600, that's like me making 2 dub plates. Seriously, that's what I can get to making 2 dub plates. I said, £600, really? Well, statute of limitations. I said, okay, all right. I said, you know what? I will never argue with ignorant people anyway, but when it comes to money, I'm not going to argue about money, because you know what? I've survived this much without it, so I'm not going to wrangle. So if that's what your conscience tells you, that you're going to give me £600, so be it. So
yeah,
if him the bank
I tell you what, I know many artists who are going through the same thing, if not even worse than what you're going through. And that's not to put a damper on what you've been through at all, but there's been many who've gone through. As a matter of fact, I have in my possession a lot of the contracts that many of the artists signed unknowingly, So,
but the joke about it is, and this is what I should tell you.
Knowing the contracts.
Yeah, the joke about it is there has been no contract.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say out to the whole wide world now, if I'm lying, please someone produce receipt of a contract. But there's been no contract between me and Ariwa, apart from the little piece of flim flam papers that I signed going for PRS and whatever. There's not been a contract between me and Ariwa. So in all actual facts, that leads me, because as I said, in those days, we didn't talk about contracts. There was no one, it wasn't on the agenda.
So share with me again to make me understand. How comes you were not receiving royalties after you had found out you should have done, claimed or signed up for whatever, right? And you wasn't receiving at a particular time, but there came a time when you did sign up. Why were you not collecting what was due onto you? Make me understand it.
Right. This is what I didn't understand. So there was a company called Westbury Music who used to help a lot of the reggae artists to claim their royalties through their publishing rights. So I approached Westbury and said, look, I have not been paid by Ariwa for all these years. Can you help me to recoup my money? You know, the response was, oh no, it's a conflict of interest. We can't help you with that. I didn't understand because they wasn't telling me why. So she goes, so the woman I said, we can help you with your other works, because I worked with another pop band called Suitability. We'll help you with that to get you those, but we cannot help you with the real because it's a conflict of interest. And I didn't know what you're talking about. Anyway, as I realized, I went on to YouTube. And you know, when they post a tune, they obviously sometimes say who it's published by. And I realized, and sometimes when you go on some of the online sites, it tells you who it's published by. I realized what Ariwa had done is made 50% publishing to Ariwa, 50% to Westbury, which meant Westbury was scraping up my publishing money. That's why they weren't going to fight it for me.
Okay.
And then when I was able to access PRS, I realized that all the tunes, the old tunes, had been republished and split between Ariwa and Westbury. And I said, wow. So they were getting all the money, but not paying. And I'm saying for Westbury, because I thought Westbury was supposed to be independent. And I was really shocked that they dipped so low. So after I realized what was going on, I called Westbury. By which time the original CEO of Westbury, the woman, had retired and it was taken by a man. So I called him and I said, this is Rankin. He goes, oh, Rankin, oh, yes, let us sort you out. So I thought, oh, yes, at last. He says, I'll call you back. Up to 9, I'll call back. I've rung him, he's been in meetings. I've emailed him, he's not replied. And I realized from he looked into the whatever the record said, don't pay Rankin anything. That must be what the record was saying, because the man just did not, he wouldn't. And this is going back a couple of years now. I email, ring, and refused to speak to me. And I'm saying, this just shows how low down and dirty the business is.
The record companies are, you know. I want to give people the opportunity to ask any questions. I will be asking any questions anybody wants to pose to Rankin Ann at least 15 minutes before the show. However, we have Sharon Bentley, which kind of ties in with what we're speaking about now. And Sharon down there in Germany says, ask Rankin Ann if she could get that info from PRS, since your name is there on the list, or was it registered as a band or group?
Now, this is what I've done recently, because I managed to get onto the website and get the list of my works and who they're attributed to. And what they did is, where it says writer, they would put, say, one of the musicians, his name would come first. Then you'd have
Cumberbatch.
Yes, he was a bass player in the band on a lot of the sessions. So if they'd put his name first, then you see Neil Fraser's name second, then you see Ann Swinton's name last. Now, this is supposed to be the writer. Yeah, I'm the one at the bottom, and supposed to be sharing the right. And I said, all the people above, all those names haven't written a word in this song, yet they attributed themselves as writers. And I didn't understand how this happened. And I've been writing to PRS, and once again, same thing. I don't get an answer. When I try to talk to someone directly, they said, you know what, right now we can't help with that particular issue, but if you write to us, email them, no answer. So I'm looking at all the works, 20 odd titles, and every single title is attributed to at least 2 or 3 people writing it, when I now said it was me, one sit down, write those lyrics. And but because the money is paid to the publishing company, so the money goes straight from PRS into the coffers of Westbury and Ariwa, and it's supposed to be Ariwa and Westbury's job to then pass it on to me, because that's how it works. But clearly, that whatever's going on, and I just say, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of vengefulness in the business. You know what I'm saying? I think once people have got a thing on you, and I know, and I can prove it, because I first was suspected it, but since linking with people on Facebook and have told me certain things about what's going on behind my back, I realized it's a real ploy against certain artists not being paid deliberately because of, I would say, personal vengefulness towards the artists.
It just doesn't, I'm so angry, so confused, because, you know, you've done all this work in the business now, on the business end. Mechanicals is the people who's just doing the music, and then you're publishing, you're writing. I'm trying to wrap it around my head. How are you cut out like that? How did they cut you out? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And the channels, yes, you'd be going through the channels to try to recoup what's rightfully yours. At what point do you say to yourself, I need a lawyer, because they're not listening to me? You know what I mean? There's so many people out there, you know, with the same issues. At what point are you going to get a lawyer? Don't you think that you would need a lawyer right now so you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And let me just add on to what Sharon has said. As long as you're signed up with PRS, there's a portion of money which is signed to solicitor or lawyers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Where they act on your behalf if necessary. I just wanted to make mention of that. Go ahead.
Right, okay. I was just going to say that a few years ago, PRS did issue this list of solicitors that would give you like a free consultation, talk through your case, and then they would see if they can take it forward for you. Now, I contacted these lawyers, these solicitors, and not one of them got back to me. Not one got back to me. And, you know, they get, for me, it gets to a point where I will try so many times, but I can't, if I keep stressing over something, it's not going to help me, because I can't take too much stress. And therefore I thought, you know what, it's clear these lawyers aren't interested because there's not money enough in it for them to even have the free consultation. And because if we look at people like Michael Jackson and Prince, it took millions to fight for what belonged to them. So which lawyer, I haven't got millions, which lawyer is going to want to be doing that kind of work, which often at the end of it, you don't even win. Because when you're fighting against a company, and trust me, the people I'm fighting against are multimillionaires. They've got the money. They can tie themselves up into court if they wanted to. I don't have that kind of money. So I realized that there wasn't that kind of remit for me to go and say, get a lawyer, because I didn't have that kind of money. And there was no free service, because you don't get that, the free legal support, legal aid for these kind of cases. So there wasn't, trust me, I looked into all these different things. I looked, and it's a dead end. It's a dead end, it really is. And even though I'm still angry, so angry when I think about it, when I look at my list of works and who's it's credited to, it makes me angry, but I have to just kind of keep it low because I can't do anything. I'm powerless to really change it at this point in time.
Unfortunately, as you stated, yes, PRS, gave you a list of lawyers. Here is my problem with that in itself. You see, just like I'm here in the States and I'm seeing so much, PRS gave you those list of lawyers knowing that they wouldn't help you, because trust me, PRS is getting some kind of kickback if they decide to help you and get a little something. But this is huge. What you're going through is pretty big, because you got two people, it's two, the publishing and Ariwa, your money's gone. They've cut you out. And they're still selling you and still pimping you out, basically.
And the thing about it is, what I've learned is PRS are also biased, because don't forget, people like Ariwa and Westbury are putting a whole load of stuff their way. They're getting, a whole load of works. So who they going to be backing? They're not going to go against.
But that's what I'm saying. They're not going to go against.
So that's why every time I try to speak to PRS, there's just a blank wall, basically. So I've got to a point now where I'm not gonna lie to you, every time we talk about it, the anger is just as fresh. I'm angry, but I realized that I've got to a point where I really can't do anything about those works. I will sing it loud and abroad. I've been robbed. I've been robbed. And T-film producers should be in jail. But that's just my personal opinion.
I'm going to share some info. I'm going to speak it into the atmosphere, right? Now, I know William Hart from the Delphonics, right? Now, he was also robbed in the industry. You never believe it, but he was robbed in the industry, just like you were, right?
Wow.
And what they decided to do, right, or he himself decided to do, was build himself a website, right? And he re-recorded all the songs he did again, right? And he put them out on his website. So he encourages everyone not to buy his music from iTunes or any other platform, but from his website, which is La La Means I Love You. That's one of their songs. That's his website.
Right.
Go check that website. You'll find out all his music is there. And that's what he and many of the other legends have done that I've spoken to. That's what they've all done. They re-recorded their stuff. Mind you, they might have reshaped the way they called La La Means I Love You. It might be I Love You rather than La La Means I Love You, but they've changed the name. However, at least they're getting back what they put in, or even half of what they put in. So that's another way of doing it.
No, I agree, and I think that's the only thing that gives me some kind of thing to look forward to.
And it's never too late. And
and I'm saying,
do what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's something that I when I talk to one or two people who may have the resources, I say, I'd love to just re-record all my tracks, and they will be mine. So that's the only option I've got. The fighting in court, the lawyer, that's not an option. It really isn't. But yes, to reclaim what's mine by re-recording, that is definitely an option, which I would love to do. Really would.
About selling their website. That's the way forward. Sell on your own website. You know, with all these social media platforms nowadays, you can do your own pushing. And there's people who have that pushing ethic about them, which will just go out day in, day out. They just push, you know, your website. Maybe that's the way forward.
No, I agree, because I've seen it, you know, remark here from Delight where it's, you know, Soomti also did something like that with a whole album, reproduced it, and that's what I would love to do. But it's to find, once again, you need to support the person with the studio who's going to, you know, produce it for you. You know, that's another whole thing again. But yes, that's something I'd love to do. If I could get help setting up my own website, you know, my own label, all of that is things I would love to do. But I'm going to say very clearly, I can't do it on my own, because these are things that I don't know enough about any of this to do it on my own. So I need people on board with me who have got enough invested in what I'm doing to help me, you know, to move forward, you know. So obviously someone who, you know, willing to, you know, studio, production, all that, you know, which, you know, I keep getting little kind of snippets, people reaching out. But, you know, it takes time to work with people. And often people want you to work on the tracks that they've got rather than me being able to lay my own tracks, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's lots of things that I want to do, but it's just actually finding the practical way forward of doing it. But yes, I'd love to record all my tracks, you know, have it out on, you know, my own website. Yeah, absolutely. Because I would say this to everybody listening, and anybody who says to me they download my tunes, I would say if you can find the free download, do it, because you are putting more money into these people's coffers who are robbers. So please, anything to do with my music, if you can get it for free, get it for free. When it's out on my label now or on my website, then I'll tell you, say yes, you can buy it.
You can buy it.
Yeah. Now, okay, so I'm just trying to pay attention to whoever is on the outside trying to get in. It seems everybody is in at the moment that should be in.
Okay.
And if we can just pay attention to anybody else who is trying to get in, so that we can let them in. Thank you to everybody who is in the building at the moment. Too many names to mention. God bless each and every one of you for being here today. We're speaking with the legendary Ranking Ann. She's sharing her story and what a blessing she is to our industry. I just feel it's just very important for us to know those who are really don't, you know, I look at people as pillars. You're one of the pillars in the industry that never gets spoken of enough. I remember the first time I reached out to you and I saw you on Facebook, and my name was, what? I wonder if that is Kill Bill.
Kill Bill.
Kill the police Bill, you know? I mean, because that was another enormous track that you did. I want to go over some of these tracks that you did done in the past, you know. One of them was Liberated Woman. Before we even get to Kill, whatever it is, Kill
the Police Bill.
Sharon wants to ask, tell us about Liberated Woman. How did that, share that memory with us? How did that come about?
That, Sharon, was, as I said in the beginning, was my whole thing was the fight to be a free person, to be free, because freedom is the most important thing to me. And I think in that tune, you've got the line, you know, born to be free, free like a bird in the tree, because that's what I've always, my soul wanted to be free, to just be who I am. So that came about a time when I had started dating. And and you know, you can meet people who are, you know, lovely young man, but still have certain things where as a woman you shouldn't wear trousers. So went to a 12 tribe dance one day with this boyfriend, and I didn't know him, hadn't known him long, and I didn't know about 12 tribes. I didn't know about 12 tribes. So this is the first time going to a 12 tribes dance. So I now wanted to look slick for this man who was quite slick himself. So I put on some tight satin trousers, baby. In those days, I could rock a tight satin trouser. And when I came down the stairs and he had his other dread friend with him, the look I got from, the look that they both looked at me like, where are you going in that outfit? Because I had no idea what 12 Tribes was like. So I think he made a comment, but I still kept him on. And when I walked into the 12 Tribes dance, and back in those days, the 12 Tribes women were all kind of very long, dresses and, skirts. And I got the look from the sisters, the look from the brethren them. And I thought, what? At the same time, you had some man them saying, "Jah go lick you with diseases, the dangerous diseases. What happened to your skirts and blouses?" I said, "Excuse me." So all those things were going on. You had man on record telling you, say, if you wear trousers, you're going to lick with disease. You had the people, around you, young people looking at you as if there's something wrong with you because you're a woman wearing trousers.
With a Michigan chat book.
Yes, them.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, once again, we're being repressed. We can't be ourselves. And I'm saying, this is wrong. So I said, you know what, because I wasn't a talker, so I wouldn't talk out to this, man I was dating. I wouldn't say anything. I was just very quiet and quite demure. But I go make the tune on him. When he heard the tune, he said, "Is that about me?" If the cat fits. So that was my way of being. I just kind of saying, no, this is just wrong. That we can't be even free to be ourselves. We can't be free to say, if I don't want to be a housewife and be cooking up every day, if I want to go out and sing a dub song and dance and prance and jig around and just be me, I want to wear my trousers, let me be myself. I'm a liberated woman, let me be who I am. So that was where that song came from. It was like a real cry from the heart, and to say, establish, I want to be free, I am me, just let me function. And that was like, that's what I wanted, just leave me alone, let me be who I am. And it coming like an anthem to, and even to this day, I still feel it, because there's still expectation that as a woman, you're, or age, you've got to be this certain way. No, let me be free to be me.
Right.
That's where that came from, Sharon.
I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play a few bars of Liberated Woman because of time. I was just about to say, a few bars.
Play that.
I think it's only right, Miss Mango?
Only right. Yeah, it's only right. Let us do it.
So, introduce a tune, Rankin Ann. Introduce a tune, Rankin Ann.
Just a minute.
Just a minute. We ready?
Oh,
no, wait. 10 star. You see that voice you have? I want to hear you call my name and say the tune, because that voice, listen to the way he's going to introduce it now. Even that 10-star voice, yes. Come on.
Put him on the spot.
Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this artist right here is the Don de la Don, the real champion in a style and passion. Rankin Ann.
Yeah, you see? That's how I hear it.
Let me get my boombox on. My boombox always messing up on me, but hold on. We soon get it. All right, here we go.
Yeah, free.
You send me born
to be free, even though.
Free like a bird in the
tree.
Free like a bird in the tree. I know some foolish people really want to change me. I know some foolish people really want to change me. They say you can't take away my identity. Can't take away my identity. Me say I feel me personality.
Hey, come on, me say I feel me personality.
Me say let me function.
Hey, come on, me say, let me function. Cause what? Me a liberated
woman. Say what?
Me a
Liberated woman.
Hey, me say they really want to change up me life.
What me say?
Some of them people want to control me life. Some of them people want to control me life. Them say, come ranking and
you want to change your life.
Come ranking and you want to be a house. For me a liberated woman. You can't control me life.
Hey.
Me say me love me go real. Me a me go real. If I
really trap is that we from real. The trap is that we from real.
I saw me say me a liberated woman. You have to let me make me function. Me say some man they want to criticize. Some man
me say them criticize.
Tell you what we just
we cook the right.
Tell you what we
You said to stop criticize.
Ooh, ranking and
They want to tell you if you wear. I know if you call me here. Me say some of them, mommy say them too unfair.
You know, I listen to you, right? And I hear a lot of what you've been through spark through your music. You know, I hear your early life at home, being repressed, not being able to talk, you know, men, whether subconsciously or unsubconsciously speaking derogatory, you know, to women or about women. I remember a time when I was in school when women were referred to as beef.
Oh my gosh.
You remember them time
my God.
You know that's in my song. You know that's in my song.
Beef.
You know my song? You know the song Call Me Ranking Ann? It said, no call me no chick, no call me no bitch, no call me no beef. Now, this is the thing that I said, going back, this is how we were started as women. We were pieces of meat.
Right.
We were female dogs. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Seriously, no. And you know, even today, it's even worse because you've got women calling women these things now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember all those, you know, those years, and I listened to your story, and pretty much, I don't know if I can refer to you as such, but you kind of remind me of Linton Kwesi Johnson, you know, a man who would stand up for people's rights, you know, especially Black people growing up in a racist Britain back in the day.
Yeah.
Because we all know we had to walk in a gang to survive back in those days. You know, so he speaks of a culture that happened back then. And I see you in the same vein, only this time is like you're standing up for women's rights, rightfully so, but yet being misconstrued.
Yeah, and it's funny you just mentioned Linton Kwesi Johnson because he was one of my influences, because I remember when he was doing his dub poetry, and it's like the way he put the words together and like went straight to your head, basically what he was dealing with, it no messing about. And I remember some of my lyrics, some of my early lyrics, they're very much on that kind of Linton Kwesi kind of tip, you know. And what I tried to do in the early days, it wasn't just about women, because trust me, I'll support women all the way, because anybody who is suppressed, I want to say no, that we don't need to have that, no suppression. We want equality, justice for everybody. But I also dealt with the whole race thing, you know, where as a race, you know, in immigration plan talked about the way, you know, Black people were treated in the UK, came here, built up the country, and then rejected, come out the country, leave, go home, you know what I'm saying? So I tried to, across the board, kind of speak up for the people who, you know, who were marginalized, you know, who were, you know, racism, sexism. But what I found is the people that responded to me most, back then, and I was going to say like mid-80s, I was getting lots of women's groups who were loving the things I was saying, like feminine gender, liberated woman. And basically, I wasn't hearing much from men, even though I was talking about, equality across the board, So I then did become a kind of advocate, because I don't remember anyone back in those early days as a female speaking up for women, because what was happening, and I think it still happens today, is for a woman to be able to get on a platform and be accepted on a platform, you had to be chatting like the man. So you had to be chatting about what you're wearing and who you're gonna do this to and whatever. Because a lot of I think even some of the early female MCs, they were trying to go along the same lines as the men. They, some of them did come out and, say, man, if you get caught from whatever, but it was still, trying to draw in the kind of male support, And I found that because of the way I put my lyrics, men were offended. So rather than them getting alongside and saying, I'm trying to teach, two species of people, male and female, how to live together in harmony, because when you have equality, you can have harmony. If you have inequality, there'll never be harmony. There'll always be war once there's inequality. And that's what I was trying to sort of bring forward in the messages that I was speaking about, but it was misconstrued. And then I was, dubbed feminist, which is fine, because feminism is about equality across the sexes, equal opportunity across the sexes. But when the men was calling me that, they were actually saying, you don't like men, you're anti-man, and you're a lesbian. That's what that meant when I had men calling me that. So I'm saying, do you know something? When I said in one of my songs, I'm not a feminist, I'm not what you think I am. I'm not anti-man, I'm not a lesbian. But what I am doing is I'm fighting for the equal rights across the genders, Even now, I still see some men do get offended when certain of my tracks are played. But I think the irony of this is, and I learned this from looking at Facebook insights as to who are my followers. And in fact, 72% of my followers are males, which surprised me, because I thought the women would be the ones that are supporting me. But funnily enough, what I'm finding, maybe it's about the reggae industry, is a lot of fellow females in the industry don't seem to have that kind of unity with me or try and get alongside me. So I don't know. It's because they feel that, and once again, I think it's really unfortunate that a lot of women in the industry feel to be able to, be big, you've got to look a certain way. So you've got to be half naked on the stage, and then man will love you, everyone will love you because, you have good body and where them call it, skin out. And I'm saying, if you want to, if that's who you want to be, fine. But if you're doing it because a man says that's the only way you can get big in the industry, and it goes across reggae, hip hop, because look at some of the hip hop girls, they've only got the G-string on. That's all they wear in G-string. If you're lucky, a piece of G-string. But it's because behind those artists are men saying, if you're going to get big in the industry, this is how you got to look this way. That's how we're going to sell you. You're basically selling your body more than your talent. I'm saying, once again, we haven't moved forward. We might be getting extra money in our pocket as females, but to get that money, you've got to still sell your soul. Wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Something tells me, Miss Mango, that there's still somewhat of a fire burning in Rankin and Psyche, a whole...
Without question, because I think you and I and our other partner, Sharon Bentley, we were talking about that specific subject, that still, and I'm trying to figure out when they're going to get it. These women out there, I mean, God bless you, do what you do, but you feel that you have to be practically naked to be seen. And once again, these companies are pimping them out, and you're going for it.
Yes.
Now I've heard the discussions on some of these women, and they're basically saying that, well, what does it matter? I'm seeing the money. Yeah, it's going to matter because you are raising children. The cycle will never end if your child or the younger generation is viewing this and thinking it's okay to keep the cycle going. It has to end. I say, and I hope and pray I'm right, but I say it's not going to last, because at the end of the day, it means nothing. Number two, it's worse that whatever music they're putting out, it means nothing because what is selling is you, not what you put out. You, no matter as much as you've been robbed, your music, Rankin Ann, still reigns supreme. People are still trying to collect from way back. Oh, I would love to get the old copy. You know what I'm saying? You matter. They will not matter in the end. What will matter is what they look like and they feel, and they're trying to cheat nature to try to keep up, but it has to end. So the cycle just doesn't, I don't know when the cycle's going to end. It just seems like the more they do it, and there's a lot of older ones doing it too. And I'm saying, what are you teaching the children? Because your time eventually will be up. What about what's coming under that? You're not going to change the cycle? You don't want to see better? You know what I mean? You're still under the guise of being pimped out. It's being pimped, you're pimping yourself out.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're pimping yourself out for a record label.
Yeah.
Who don't care anything about you. If you drop that tomorrow morning, the next one with a G-string should go and come right on. And it goes on. You know what I'm saying? So you, listen, maybe the time when you just stay quiet, you was to stay quiet, you know. But it's time for you to talk up now. Talk up the things them.
I think she's ready to do some more productions. I can see it.
You know, the funny thing is, the funny thing is, it would be great to do it musically, but you know, I've got to a point in my life now where I quite like to talk. So I'd love a platform where I can really talk the things, because I have got a lot to say, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm observing so much, you know, I've been in this world for quite a long time and I've observed so much over the decades, and I'm not seeing things go in the right direction, you know, and I've got a lot to say. And I, you know, what I love is that we've got a few platforms out there that are doing, you know, what we're trying to do, which is to expose, you know, we need to be exposed and, you know, look for a way forward for, you know, us as a people, as a population. And I really wish that some of the platforms would come together, because even though they're doing it in a different way or different style, but I think if we can begin to bring platforms together that are trying to do the same thing, which is raise awareness of what is going on, raise awareness of what is wrong, and see how we can go forward in the right way. This is what I'd love to do. So, you know, I think I'd like to be a talk show host. But yes, the music is the music,
family, yes.
Thank you. But the music is I'll never, you know, not want to do music, but I think I can actually say more saying it, you know. But if an opportunity comes to me to write a song and put it out there. But the sad thing is, because of the way music goes now, where does people go to hear music now? You know, you've got the kind of online radio stations, and that's kind of hit and miss who's listening in. Where do people go to buy it now? Downloads are once again hit and miss, you know. So it's like, sometimes I think that the talk platforms can sometimes reach far and wide, you know. So that to me would also be something that I'd love to do, because there's so much topics, you know, and it's so many issues, you know, and the older I get, the more issues there are. Issues to talk to young people about, issues to talk to, you know, my age group about, because even though we're of an age, we're still making mistakes, you know, we're still not speaking out about things that matter to us and the people around us. And I think it's time to speak out and stop being afraid, because I know there's things that I've never spoken out about because of the fear factor, you know, and I'm looking at certain platforms that give people that chance to speak about things that they've held on to for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, that it still have an impact on them. And until we speak out, we can never move forward, you know.
Right.
Yes.
So I just want the platform. Give me the platform. Give me the platform.
You're in the
platform. You're in the platform, and the platform's growing. You know what I mean? You
Sharon, I mean, me and you have been talking about, you know, a lot of things that need to be spoken about. And for me, you know, it's, I think we've been talking for too long, you know, talking about the issues, things that are going wrong, you know, wherever it's going wrong. However, we need to see a way through. How do we correct whatever is going wrong? So I with these platforms that we've created now, you know, I want to talk about solutions.
Right.
You know, what are the solutions? We know what a lot of the problems are, so what are the solutions? So I want a solution-based program, you know, where we
Yeah.
can help many, you know, wherever they are, you know, whether it's through our voices,
You've gone low,
speaking out
10
loud
star.
and addressing
Okay,
issues. I think it's time to address those issues. However, creating solutions, because for far too long we've been talking about issues and problems and a lot less about solutions. So I hope I'm making sense. It's time for
Yeah.
solutions.
Right. I think that in doing that also, there of course there are still things for us to learn. However, the solutions, when we start to do that, we got to make sure that these things are in place. Okay, the solution to this is this. Contact here. Speak to this person, speak to that person, because again, as you are right, 10 Star. We could talk all day about the injustices of what has been done to an artist and their music. They've been robbed. Okay, so you know what? Let me do my research. Let me speak to my lawyers over here. Let them give me, you know, like a list of, okay, this is another way that you could probably do this. Or this is another way that we can do that. You know what I mean? It's actually, it's going to take work. So obviously we're going to have to do our research, but this is something that really has to be done. And we obviously cannot do it alone. We have to recruit enough people.
I have to reiterate that program that a lot of artists will find useful. And a program that I did many years ago. Sharon Bentley can attest to this. They're out there on YouTube because I took time to put all the shows on YouTube. And it was a show that scientists, myself, Fitzroy Francis, Chris Hills, Dubby Doo, and you know, Roddy Campbell and Lady G at the time, you know, we all got together and we decided to educate artists on the music industry. So we broke everything down. We started with royalties, publishing, what a rider is, contracts, what to look at, keywords to look out for in a contract. There were so many things, you know, like for instance, we tried to emphasize the words in perpetuity, you know, what those words mean, you know, knowing many artists, even one that I would vocally speak about, which is Silford Walker. And I think I've mentioned this many a time. He has 200 unreleased songs which he did for Joe Kidd that will never see the time of day because he sold his life away.
Oh.
Right? So he just has to find the strength to continue to go on and create more music. The songs that he wrote are gone. He will never own them in his life because he gave his music away because of that word in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's forever and ever. He will never own his own music.
Oh, gosh.
And not only has Joe Gibbs passed away, Joe Gibbs' son has passed away. And he's still not in control of his own music. You know,
wow.
But there's a
lot
from you know these shows that we've done. If you go on to if you go into, well, I don't think they're on Mixcloud, but they're on YouTube, where we break down everything, you know, about the music industry that people find important. And I think we've done at least, if Shan will remind me, I think there are about 19, 20 shows that we did, which is on YouTube.
Yep.
You were thinking about bringing these shows back again with the scientists and, you know, but...
Yeah, well, I think the last conversation we had with the scientist, he's willing to, I think it's necessary now to really do this and definitely, you know what I mean, bring Rankin Ann in on it. We have to do it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you.
Welcome. She can't take back her chat now. She's part of the family.
Would I? Do I ever take? I never take back chat.
You never do.
Take back chat.
You stand your ground. I like that.
I do. As someone once said about me, The ladies not for turning. The
That's
ladies not
right.
for turning.
Name ranking, and I tell you what, let's play a song, and then I'm going to hand over to Miss Mango to ask any other questions she might have before we start to round up the show. Rankin Ann, in my eyes, is one of the toughest female MCs, the DJs, toasters, whatever it is, in the industry, who never got her due in the industry. Real pioneer, capitals, everything capital.
Yes, capitals.
Not lowercase.
Yes,
you know
sister.
That, right? All right.
And yeah, I do agree with you with the pioneer title.
Yes, I'm afraid so. It fits. That's right.
I do agree with you. Because you see, this is the pioneer. The pioneer has no one else to look for. They have to sort of break the trail, make the trail. And that was what it was. I didn't have any other female, people to look to in what I was doing. So I had to make that road for myself, make that inroad for myself. So yeah, but the thing about a pioneer, the pioneer is not the person that gets the notice. It's the people that come behind and build on. They're the people that get noticed and highlighted as the people that are in it. But as I said, that's okay. I mean, I know my history. I have my dates, so it doesn't matter if people want to say that one was there before. That doesn't really matter, But I know that
we understand how it goes. We understand.
Yeah, I had to break unknown ground because I didn't know what it was going to be for a female MC, a female toaster to be out there, because I didn't hear anyone else doing that. So yeah, I accept that title of pioneer.
Trailblazer, you're a trailblazer. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Yes,
trailblazer.
Trailblazer. We choose our words carefully. Trailblazer.
Let me say something. People might say Rankin Ann is militant and she this and she that. And Rankin Ann have a woolly fire in her step and ting. All right. But there is a loving side to Rankin Ann.
Oh yeah, I don't see the militancy. You know what? Let me see this real quick. I know we're gonna be playing a little music. I don't see the militancy. I don't see it at all. I just see a Black woman standing up for herself. She chose to keep her dignity and not sell her soul to the devil. That's how me look on it.
Thank you.
That's what it is. So people are intimidated by the fact she's a strong woman and she's not gonna take your shit. That's basically, excuse me French, but that's like God.
And that does intimidate some people.
It does.
Some people really can't handle that.
They can't. So they said, oh, she's a this and she's a militant. I don't see, she doesn't display that for me. She is a respect to the feminine kind. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna ask you the $1 million question right after this song.
Okay.
This is the love inside to Rankin Ann.
Lover.
Musically,
Put a little bit more volume.
Turn it up, B.
Make love on the mountain top. We could have never stop.
Can you hear it?
Turn it up. Turn it up.
Hey, me say once upon a time, me say me nearly lost my mind. Once upon a time, me say me nearly lost my mind. Me never have a man to love me.
Never have a man just be hold me. Me really did feel so lonely. Really did feel so lonely. And then you come along and say you sing a love song. And you say you sing a love song, you make me feel so nice. Hey, come on like a sugar and spice. So what?
I remember that one. That was one of my favorites. That was. But listen.
You came to me one day because you thought that I was so lonely.
Make love on the mountain top. We could have never stop. Hey, yeah. We could have never stop. Me say once upon a time, me say me nearly lost me mind. Oh, once upon a time, me say me nearly lost me mind. Me never have a man feel love me. Never have a man feel hold me. Me say me really did feel so lonely. Really did feel so lonely.
Yes.
So is it sounding really low? Because I've got it loud.
It's very low. Sometimes
it was low. It would just go up and down, fluctuate.
Because I got it on high.
Okay, that's funny because this came out quite low.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
But I'm glad you played that because I do really want people to recognize that, you know, I know people see me as a fighter, but I'm also a lover. You know something, you know, in all my days, in terms of being at school, whatever, I've never picked up my fist to fist anybody, to slap anybody. I'm a lover, you know, I'm a lover at heart. That's my life, you know. So, you know, and I think people don't seem to, very few people remember that aspect that, you know, there's like, you've got...
I remember that.
Yeah, and I know you're the first one that's really highlighted it, you know, someone that's had a platform to highlight it, broadcast it, that Ranking Ann is also a lover. And I've got the first one I did called Moonlight Lover. I mean, that's about, you know, that's tender love in the moonlight, you know what I'm saying? And nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers that tune. But yes, so, you know, I'm like anybody, we have different aspects, you know? And as I said, the comedian, the lover, the fighter, you know, but fighting for rights as opposed to, I don't do the fist fighting, I don't, you know, but yeah, so it's nice when people recognize the different aspects, the different faces of Ranking Ann, you know.
Oh yeah,
I should say facets. I should say the facets.
Different facets. Yes.
We can again. I'm gonna play this a little bit louder right now. I don't know if it can go louder than this. I wish I knew where the speaker was on this laptop. I would have put it right next to it, but I tell you what, I'm gonna put it on top. Tell me if it's louder. Yeah. Any better?
Better, yeah. Now you're talking.
You came to me one day because you thought that I was so lonely. Yeah, make love
find me mountain top. We could have never stop. Make love find me mountain top. We could have never stop.
Hey, me say
once upon a time, me say me nearly lost me mind. Once upon a time, me say me nearly lost me mind. Never have a man feel love me. Never have a man just feel. Me say me really did feel so lonely. Really did feel so lonely. Me say, and then you come along, me say you sing a love song. And then you come along, me say you sing a love song. You make me feel so nice. Hey, come on, I like a sugar and spice. Say what?
make love on the mountain top. Hey, I saw me say make love on the mountain top.
We could have never stop.
You say you take me for a natural high. You say you take me for a natural high.
Me say you feel so high, me nearly touch the sky. Feel so high, me nearly touch the sky.
Special request to say coming from the west. Coming from the west, me
see your special request just come from the west.
Me say me want a conscious man.
Me say me looking for a conscious man.
Me say me really want a companion. Me say me looking for a conscious man. Me really want a companion. Me say the man not today. Them a
under girl course. I no brag me a brag. Gonna boast me a boast.
Me feel feel it them with the gear post. Whoa. Me feel it them with a gear post. Me say me know a little boy from Battersea. Everywhere we go, me have to pay the door fee. Oh, everywhere me go, me have to pay the door fee. Me say me really feel fed up.
Stop it! Stop it!
Authentic leadership.
Authentic leadership. Oh yes, we need it quicker.
Authentic leadership. Oh yes, we need it quicker.
Pull it up again, pull it up again, pull it up again.
Authentic leadership. That's what we need.
Like me no know what.
Authentic
leadership. Oh yes, we need it quicker.
Authentic leadership. Oh yes, we need it quicker. Hey now we know I'm Lana.
Hey now with Pan Lana. Say me no understand.
For one
Minority.
Majority in them own country. Say what a fallacy. Must change this policy. Yes, this iniquity. Say them a fight you way. Say them a fight you way. Say them a fight you way.
Pull it up again, pull it up again.
Ranking, and I could go on and on and on. I had.
But you see, Mama wasn't going to stop it now. It wasn't going to stop.
And you know,
is Rankin Ann's fault. I blame it.
But you know what? It's just something I've just seen Delight say in the chat. These tunes written almost 40 years ago could be relevant or is relevant for today. Because we still don't have authentic leadership, and that's not just in these kind of countries, but even in our countries. You know what I'm saying? You still got people who are not looking after the people. You know, I'm looking at the Caribbean, I'm looking at Africa. You still got leaders not looking after their own. It's got to, you know, until that changes, we will never be able to rise. We have to take care of our own.
That's right. That's right.
You did a song that was kind of controversial. You know, even sometimes when I'm trying to write about this particular song, I have to think twice because I'm thinking, who's going to misconstrue what I'm writing? And that song is, you know what I'm talking about.
I know the one. Kill the police bill.
Now, this is where English language comes in. It's got a double-edged meaning. Right? Now, it could mean kill the bill, which they're trying to implement into our society, or it could mean, is she actually saying kill the policeman bill?
Kill your bill.
And the thing is, I think, because I said I did this in conjunction with GLC, some guys in the GLC who were the police support committee. And basically, I think that when we spoke about this track, you know, I think that title could have actually come from them because obviously it was about a bill before it became law in the legislation. But because obviously in the English language, you know, English slang, bill or old bill does mean police. So I think they definitely, it was like a kind of double entendre. I think it was quite deliberate to make people think and, you know, create interest, you know. But yes, there are people who really believe that I'm saying to kill the flesh and blood policeman. And I'm saying, no police were harmed in the making of this song, not one. It was basically about, you know, trying to stop a bill becoming law, which would be detrimental, especially to Black men, but, you know, poor people, Black people, because it was basically, you know, infringing on their rights, you know, just to live, basically, you know. Seriously, that is now law. You know, a lot of the police powers came from that particular legislation back in '84. So it went through anyway. With all the protestations, it still went through. But you had people who felt so strongly against that bill before it became law. They wanted to make sure people were aware, because a lot of time people are not aware what they're doing in Parliament. They've got all these plans for us in the law, which are not helping us, but just tying us down, controlling us. But until it gets out on the statute books, we don't know what they're planning for us. So when people kind of squeak out and say, look, you need to protest this because it's coming out, and once this becomes law, you won't be able to do anything. You know, you have no freedom to do anything. You know, they can come in your house and they can pick you up and they can keep you for how much hours and not charge you and do internal searches, and all this has now come to pass. This all come to pass.
And Ken Livingstone was the leader at the time of the GLC, wasn't he?
That's right. So you had Ken. I remember I went to a press conference with Ken Livingstone, Paul Boateng. There was someone else who was up in the government, because they were all trying to, and these are all kind of Labour people trying to say, no, we can't have this, you know. But with all, as I said, all these big names still saying no, it still went through and became law.
So what did this do for your status at the time? Is she frozen? She's frozen. Okay. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can get her out and then see if we can bring her back in. That's what normally happens. Or it's either that or somebody's called her. But we'll see what we can do about it. Let's see.